Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for you is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for you.
Good afternoon, and I welcome you to Working for You. I am your host, Lesroy Williams. Today I have a full house here at the studio of ZIZ. I have with me officials from the Department of Culture. And today we are going to be discussing just that. We are going to be discussing the importance of culture and what are some of the things that the Department of Culture is involved in to advance the development, especially cultural development in St. Kitts and Nevis. Wherever you are joining us, we thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope that today's program will be very enlightening to you. I am going to ask my guests to introduce themselves and to say something about what they do at the Department of Culture, of course, so that you can get to know them better. I will start on my left.
Good afternoon. My name is Marlene Phillips. I'm the Research and Documentation Specialist.
Oh, I'm Tonicia Hodge Martin. I'm an audio officer. I do most of the marketing.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline Harvey. I'm an audio officer. I deal with archiving.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Lesroy. Thank you for having us here. I am Troy Biff Mills, the director. I guess I have the easiest job amongst everybody.
Good afternoon all, my name is Marcia Jeffers and I am the dance specialist.
Good afternoon, I'm Nigel Williams and I am the music specialist of the Department of Culture.
Okay, there we have it, 6 officials from the Department of Culture, led of course by Director Troy K. Mills. We are very happy to have you here. Of course, culture at its most basic definition can be defined as the way of life of a people. And everywhere in the world, every society has a culture. And sometimes not just one culture, but has multiple cultures, multicultural societies. And we are becoming more and more a multicultural society. We are moving away from a monoculture into a multiculture, with so many people coming to live in St. Kitts and so on. But of course, our own culture, the culture of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, must of course be preserved and developed, so that we do not lose basically what we have. And culture, of course, can be tangible and intangible. And later on we will look at these definitions, a tangible culture and intangible culture. But I want to start with something that is very much part and parcel of our culture, and that is folklore.
Yes.
Folklore at its most basic can be defined as the traditional beliefs and customs and stories of a community passed through the generations by word of mouth. What is the Department of Culture doing in terms of the preservation and development of folklore? And why are the preservation and development of folklore so important. I would start with Mr. Williams.
Thank you very much. Well, first I must say, we have seen this year, I must say last carnival, quite a few troops coming out of the primary schools especially. We have received assistance from the known doctor of culture, Mr. Zach Nisbet, and we were able to have various troops that we haven't seen for quite a few years re-emerge, and we are very happy for that. But recently too, we recognize that we have some faults in those that are still practicing regular. And for instance, from the 25th of this month to the 27th, we had a workshop based on fife playing, because we recognize over the years our folklore music is losing the sweetness, if you want to put it that way. Because what really happens is that we have a problem where we do not have much fifers in St. Kitts. As a result, most of the big drum music for the masquerade, the mummies and etc. that will normally have fife, even for the clowns, they are now, some of them resort to just the drum and the kettle and the bass, or in some cases some of them have a bottle that they blow to substitute for the fife. And you know, the clowns, oh boy, that is so bad at the moment, because we only have one strong string band in the island, and what is happening is that they are using a lot of music for the high five, and you know, it's not the real thing. And then they have to play through a sound system and compete with the big sounds of the big bands, and then they're not heard. Then they have to dance to the big band music, and instead of doing the clown movements and the masquerade movements, you know, doing what we call walk up and jump up. You know, so we are trying hard to get away from that. And we had this workshop from the 25th of January to the 27th as regards the fife, the playing of the fife. And we had 11 persons that came on a regular for 3 days. And there were some other persons who call that have interests that we're going to capitalize on in the future. And that workshop was for us in the Department of Culture. We are very, very happy for the result that came out of that workshop, because not only were persons able to make a proper sound on the fife at the end of the workshop, but they were able to play 2 major scales and also play about 3 of the regular masquerade and clown songs, like Fan Me Chinaman and you know, songs like that. And I mean, it was really a success. As a result of that, we are now encouraged to have weekly classes. So those persons that attended the workshop will continue playing, because it don't make no sense we have a workshop. And after the workshop, that is it.
Practice is important.
Right, so we have to keep them going, because we want to make sure that for Carnival this year, we're going to see more fifers playing with the folklore music, so that will enhance the entire Carnival. We were also fortunate to, it wasn't just male, as we normally used to play in the fife and the bottle, but there were also some females involved that have interest in it. I was so happy, because I want to encourage not just boys, and I want to encourage everybody to take advantage of this opportunity, and let's keep our cultural music as sweet as it should be. And I know, like I said, for Carnival this year, we're going to see it. And during the rest of the year, when we have things like the community festivals, etc., where the folklore take part, we'll try to make sure we enhance that music.
Right. Do you know a brief history of the fife?
Yes, but yeah, the fife really is an instrument, one of the oldest instruments next to the drum, and it came out way down in the 16th century. And we know of it coming out of Europe. Of course, you know, Africans have a way that they either create, or if they don't create, they enhance. And of course, we would have had the opportunity to hear things and see things done and improve on it and embrace it into our style, or the African style of music, if you want to put it that way. And we also recognize that the fife in Europe was used a lot in the military music. It's still popular up to today, and the system used is basically what we use is to play that fife is basically the same, except that you find that the wood, because we are from the Caribbean, most of our fifes are made from bamboo, or nowadays especially PVC, whereas in Europe they use some other kind of wood that they have in those areas. And this sound might be a little different, but the system is basically the same. So the fife, and the thing about playing the fife, unlike those of us who have played other instruments where we learn to play the trumpet and the saxophones and things like that, with the fife, most of it is played by memory, or what we call by ear. So the players are able to just hear a tune and play, basically, without the music sheet and things like that. And I can tell you, it has been passed on for years and years and years. And I don't know how, I really don't answer how we get it, but it remains up to today.
Right. So,
But we're going to make sure that because we in St. Kitts, we are unique also. And we have particular tunes by our calypsonians of way back in the 60s and things like that, that are well known. People expect when you play fife to hear those tunes in St. Kitts, and we are known for those songs, especially 1, 2, 3 and things like that. And the clown music that we hear, Fan Me China Man, is all those songs there. So we got to make sure that persons are equipped with those songs, those material, so that our folklore music will be what we know it to be, and our visitors and locals will appreciate our music much more.
okay, good. Caribbean people love to dance, which is moving rhythmically to music. For them it seems natural. Marcia, you're a dance specialist. I understand that you studied at the Edna Manley School of Dance in Jamaica. How would you personally define dance? And how can dance be better developed in the Federation? And what are some of the benefits of dance?
Okay. Dance, a definition for dance, Mr. Williams, it's technical, I want to say, because dance embraces everything. Simply put, dance is life. And part of the definition of dance would encapsulate its benefits. First off, dance is a discipline. It's discipline in terms of the movement. It's very technical because there are different genres. Each genre has its own technique and a style that can be learnt. It's discipline in, I said, time management, the way you dress, the time you reach to the studio or your practice area for production time and recital time. Everything is a discipline. It's another benefit of dance. It's obvious, the physical. When you dance, and I tell people dancers are athletes. I can beat you, Mr. Williams, 100-meter dash. Dancers are athletes because we exert so much energy and so much effort to produce the movement that naturally causes us to perspire. One, we have to drink water and replenish because the energies are exerted. Additionally, it embraces an educational value. In dance, you learn the vocabulary of each genre. Ballet, for instance, has history in France, the Renaissance period. You have the African dance, Afro-Caribbean dance. So you learn about different cultures, you learn about different people and the way they move. Also on the education, it teaches one how to eat. I know in more modern times, people have been eating and pushing a balanced diet, eating healthy, exercising. Dance encapsulate all of that. Dancers are not to be found drinking sodas. If you see a soda in my hand, Mr. Williams, dash it away because it's not a part of the physical. You're not supposed to encourage those kind of carbonated drinks in dances. You drink juices, you know, fruits and vegetables. So it allows for a proper healthy lifestyle. So you have the physical, you have the educational, the cultural. As I mentioned before, it embraces different islands, different countries, regional and international alike. It also allows one, very obvious, to have fun. You're exerting effort, you're playing with people, you're dancing with people. You have dances that are very intimate. You have the salsa. Those of you, Mr. Mays, who like the dirty dancing. So you have different dances, different types of dances. So it really has a lot to benefit. It gives you a sense of spatial awareness because there's some elements in dance, time and energy and space.
Yes.
So it teaches you a whole wealth of knowledge.
So you can talk about dance as being emotional as well.
Yes, it communicates emotion. If I'm going through a really rough time, and when Mr. Williams would say he play his music or he sing a song to, you know, relieve himself of that difficulty, I would dance it out.
So dance can reflect the mood.
Correct. It can also teach you history of a place. I remember one time I did a production when Haiti experienced that massive earthquake. It was a drama and dance production produced by Keisha Isaac, and we did the dance to showcase how the persons would have felt at that time, homeless and helpless and physically hurt because of this earthquake. So it communicates that to an audience.
Now, as a specialist in dance, how can dance be better developed? Or what plans do you have, having all these ideas about dance and so on, to help the Department of Culture in its development of dance in the Federation?
That question is very interesting, and I have been in the industry, the dance industry, the arts industry for a while. Before I arrived at the department just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I still am teaching theatre arts at the Basia High School. In the theatre arts curriculum, we have dance and drama as a major focus. In the Ministry of Culture, in the Department of Culture, what I would like to see and implement is a more, while we're on the education side, it would be nice, and I would propose that the Ministry of Education will propose and have been proposing that dance become a formal part of our children's education. From kindergarten right up, preschool, right up to high school, and even at sixth form level, we have seen children engaging in dance in its simplest form, because dance is movement, jump, hop, skip, roll, bend. It's basic movement put together to form a choreography. Now, if dance is implemented in school with all these benefits, discipline and time management, the education, the culture, I don't see anything else but success for the education system, and it needs also to factor in the awareness of the economic value that dance can bring.
Yes.
Right now in our federation, we are promoting, or we have been pushing tourism as our number one industry. When the tourist comes, and even for our locals, to see what dance St. Kitts has to offer, we need, as a department, as a ministry, as a country, a federation, to educate our children that this is a viable career. Even if you're not on stage physically moving, you can be the director of a dance company, and there are many dance companies on the island. You can be the producer, you can be the lighting tech, the costume designer, the videographer, you can be the script writer. There are multiple opportunities in the arts whereby the children can be educated and find a lifelong career that can benefit them. On the flip side of that, we have the parents who also need educating, because we have some parents who would say, where are you going with that? Dance, what are you going to do with that? You need something else, and you do that on the side like a hobby. But if we project and promote the arts, especially dance, as a viable career path, then parents would understand that, hey, my daughter went to a simple dance workshop, studied dance, and is now the dance specialist of the department in the Department of Culture. So that is a career path that somebody can take. I'm also teaching dance. Right, so we're not to limit our children. So if it's implemented in the education system, that would be awesome. Also, in the department, I would like to see, and we'll work on documentation and creating policies and standards for the dance, especially our folklore forms. In Jamaica, where I studied, as you mentioned, I had a course that questioned the cultural form of my island, and I went searching Mr. Williams. And I was taken aback because I keep mentioning masquerade, which I grew up in the village, with Valon, and I knew that masquerade is our thing. And when I reached it, my teachers are telling me, well, Bermuda has masquerade, and Grenada has masquerade, and there's Makajumbi this place and that place. And I felt silent, almost to tears, because they said, Sankis didn't have anything. And Jamaica, they were listing, we have Kumina, we have Jankuna, we have Dinkimini. They kept listing their traditional forms, and I felt quiet. The next day, I hit the library, and up bounced a thesis from the former director, Mr. Crichton Pension, on the bull. The bull is ours. And if I can go to Jamaica and see a document of the bull there, then more needs to be done to push our local farms. And I'm saying, if we can document these things, have workshops like Mr. Williams did last week, train our practitioners on the masquerade, on the clowns, from the music to the uniform to the dance itself, then we can have a better dance federation culturally, a stronger cultural fabric to present to our tourists when they come and even when we travel. What about workshops? What about scholarships? I intend, and I spoke to Mr. Mills, that training would be had for our tutors, our dance tutors, our dancers themselves, and training in the sense that you train them locally, you train them, have regional people come and share, and we too can have an exchange, go to different islands and share what we have and embrace what they have. You mentioned earlier multicultural communities, and think it is fastly becoming one. We have Chinese here, Africans, Haitians, people from other Caribbean territories. Have we ever had a dance recital featuring all of these cultural dances? I haven't seen that. That's something that I would like to see being promoted. I would end on this note, and this has been long coming. The Performing Arts Center. You cannot speak about dance and not have a place to practice. We use, most dance groups to my knowledge, use community centers. Community centers are either concrete or tile. That is not appropriate dance floor for my little bones. My dance career would end in a wink if I continue to do that. And so what we have been appealing over the years to different governments and different ministers and different directors, we need to have a performing arts center to accommodate the dance, as we are doing an injustice to our children and ourselves.
Yeah,
and
I
our
think that
culture.
one is on its way. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Mr. Stanley Knight, was here sometime recently on Working for You and mentioned that one is in the pipeline.
And I'm so happy that he has done that. He has shared it with the department, and I'm elated. I wish he could start
But
tomorrow.
he referred to it as a multicultural center. Of course, the arts is not just the performing arts, but of course, you have the visual arts,
And the culinary.
you have the culinary arts, and of course, you have the literary arts as well. Okay,
Yes.
so, but you mentioned some things that are so important in terms of our development as a people. You mentioned the social aspects. And you mentioned, of course, the economic aspects. How more and more people can see dance as a career, and the many spin-offs from dance. You know, sometimes our people think that dance is only about walking up. Walk up. Gyrations. That is the only kind of dance that we somehow appreciate. The walk up. And we can do it very well.
Very well.
And the children learn to do it.
Naturally.
And naturally, and at a very, very early age. But there are so many different types
Correct.
of dance, you know, that can be taught and learned in our society. Of course, we see some of it with the folklore, the masquerades and so on, and you know, you see the way that they're dancing and all of that. But as you correctly said, dance is movement and dance is life.
Yes.
You know, so thank you. Developing one's musical talents is an area that is on the rise in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it is an area in which people can express, especially young people, you know, their creative energies. Put it into something positive instead of something antisocial,
Yes.
negative. And I understand that there is a top 10 music video countdown. Tunisia, can you enlighten us about this?
Yes, sure. The top 10 music video countdown is an initiative that the Department of Culture started to encourage our recording artists. I think if we notice, there are a lot of recording artists around the country now, a lot of young guys just coming out of school with talent. They go to a studio and they produce some sort of music. Now, you find that you can go on YouTube and find most of them, but there's usually lyric videos and there is no actual music video, something you don't even know who the artist is,
Sure.
right? So what Culture decided to do, we wanted to have a way where we can interact with the public, have the public interact with us, but also introduce them to the artists. And around the world, we know there are a lot of music countdowns. We had BET in America and a lot of different places, MTV and VH1, all of those. So Culture Beat SKN, which is the portal that we own on YouTube, we have started the top 10 music video countdown so that the public can vote for the videos that are produced by our local artists. And then the number one video that is voted would go up in a 27-minute show that is shown on ZIZ and also on our YouTube channel. Now, how we get people involved is that we generate a link that we send around to the media and to you know, WhatsApp and different places, Facebook and stuff, and persons can click on that link. They will see a list of nominees that people have nominated and they can vote. You can vote for as many artists as you want, but you can only vote once. So once you click that vote button, that's the end of it. And we currently have like 27 songs. Some artists have more than one song. Okay, 30. Yes, because Jacqueline is our narrator. She's the one that speaks. You know, I'm the one that created. I'm the executive producer and the editor of the show. So after they vote, at the end of a week and a half, because it's every 2 weeks, and then we allow the voting from Friday to 2 Tuesdays after, and then we pull the results and we start production because we need production time, and then we release that video to the public.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some rules and regulations though.
Sure. Tell us what they are.
Because we have been having some questions about why some videos is not on the nomination list. but we have videos. We cannot have videos that have any explicit, vulgar, morally or socially demeaning language or visual expressions. So, you know, the video might be clean in terms of what they say, but when you look at it, should culture promote certain behaviors, knowing that culture embraces even children? So culture reserves the right. When we look at the video, when it's nominated, we have a group of us that sit and we look at it and we say, no, we can't use this one because of those things. So you can nominate how much ever videos you want, but we reserve the right to choose which one we let pass through based on our rules and regulations.
Is that the only rule and the only regulation?
We also well, let me read the rules and regulations. All video must be an actual music video. No lyrical videos will be accepted. So no videos with just lyrics right up. We have videos are only valid if they were produced in the current year to July of the following year. Now, that rule can change. The reason why that rule is like that, because we just started the countdown last, I think it was November, we decided that videos that was produced from July of last year to June of this year would be in the same batch, the same nominee list, because we are planning an awards to help the music industry, and so we must have some cutoff point, right? Then we have, as I just read about the explicit and vulgar and moral social demeaning. Then we have videos must not contain any nakedness. This is just to reinforce what we said. Any nakedness or vulgar behavior that is not appropriate for children. You know, so you heard y'all speak about the walk up. It's not that we're saying, because you know that's a kittitian thing.
Yes.
The walk up is a kittitian thing. But some people take it a little too far, you know, when you see, you know, their rears and, you know, so we can't have any of that in the video. It also says that anyone with a valid music video can qualify for the video countdown and will benefit from any promotion surrounding the countdown. However, to benefit from the prizes, the artist must be a registered member of the SKNCIR, which is the St. Kitts Nevis Creative Industry Registry, which is what Marlene will speak about more later on. But in order to, so you'll benefit from the promotions. We're going to promote it overseas. We are already, you know, working on getting it into Canada and New York City and stuff. So your music videos will be seen all over the world, will be promoted. But the only way you can get any of the prizes is if you're a member of the SKNCIR, right? And then it says, for a video to be accepted as a nomination for the countdown, the link must be sent to rdu@culture.gov.kn, or you can bring it to the office on a pen drive, or, you know, maybe, you know, email it to us if that's possible, depending on the size. And all nominated videos must meet the requirements of the St. Kitts Department of Culture to make the voting list.
Right.
So that's basically the rules.
Okay. Now, additionally, there is the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase, has been confirmed as the most significant regional action around the Caribbean in terms of film for a while. It's really based in Cuba. What we are seeing around the world is that film is taking off in a lot of countries. Take, for example, Nigeria. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know the economic situation of Nigeria before Nollywood. There was a lot of persons, you have like some artists like Mercy Johnson and stuff, who, you know, lived in villages and they had talent, but, you know, there was no way to expose their talent. And a company like Nollywood comes along and it pulls its people and say, you know, let's make these movies. No matter what the quality of the movie was, they kept on making movies. No matter what criticism they got, they kept on making the movies. Some of these artists, like Mercy Johnson, I love to speak about her. She's now one of the richest actors in Nigeria, you know, big house and everything, off of Nollywood. Now, the film fest, the Traveling Caribbean Film Showcase helps filmmakers in the Caribbean when they produce their film. They go around the Caribbean into, I think now 26 countries. First it was 22, now it's 26, and they show these films to different countries so that the filmmakers can get some promotion. What we would like to do is encourage our young people to look at film as a possible career move. You know, as Massey was talking about dance, that's one of the things here, you know. Persons will say, oh, he like camera, but that's just a hobby. But some of the most paid people in Hollywood are boom operators. And a boom operators just stand with a stick. That's all they do. And they make millions of dollars. So the film industry, you know, boom operators, choreographers, lighting operators, all these things. These people make a lot of money. Now, if we can see India and Nigeria make this an industry that can work. We have talented people here. We have people who can use cameras, who have produced stuff. Now, you know, something you produce something, because I have produced stuff as well, and you think, oh, it's not that good. But that didn't stop Nollywood. That didn't stop Bollywood. You know, they kept on going, and now it has grown. Now it is better.
Yes.
So culture now would like to be able to go into the schools, and I've suggested it. I've spoken to Mr. Mills. I've written a proposal as well that we can go into the schools. We can teach the young ones how to use the camera, how to create a film, how to, you know, have a casting and stuff like that, and put a film together so that we can produce something that the world can see that we can do. And maybe from there, culture can help them to, you know, realize their talent. And somewhere along the line, I would love film to be a part of our education curriculum.
Yes.
Because it's something that you can get paid. And know everybody, they want their son to be a doctor or a lawyer and stuff. But we have a lot of doctors and lawyers, you don't think? So, I mean, you know, film is something that can really, really help us. So, persons who want to know more about the film showcase, they can contact Culture. They can come to the office. We'll give them more information, you know. And you know, this is something we would like to encourage. If anyone out there have film that they have produced, you can come to the office and try and find out how you can get your film on the showcase, and we'll be willing to help you.
Good. Now, something that Marcia touched on is about documentation. That while she was in Jamaica, she came across an article done by Mr. Creighton Pension on the bull.
Yes.
That is unique to our folklore in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it brings me to an important area, that of archiving and documenting our culture. Why is it so important to archive and document our culture? Jacquan, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you see the importance of what you do.
Okay. The National Record and Archive documentation is really to preserve and make availability for consultation, public records selected for preservation. We do this because in some of the schools, our culture is not really taught. They mainly teach us about Jamaica, Barbados, revolts, and other stuff. Now, with our culture,
Can I
Yes,
add
she
something
can.
while she's collecting her thoughts?
Yeah,
just
sure.
that to let you know that Jaquan Harvey has been attached to the Department of Culture for a short period of time. and she's in training.
Yes.
And we've been fortunate enough to have her attached to the research and documentation unit. So some of the things that she's going to talk about, she's just learning.
Sure.
Even though she brings a lot of skills with her that we're grateful for, we've given her an assignment to assist us with archiving. And in particular, we've had her take a look at our archives, which have a lot to do with documents, audio, video. We have many different formats, mini DV tapes, DVD, U-matic, and so on and so forth. So the first task that we've assigned Jaquan is to become familiar with our archives. She's looked at hours of video footage to identify it, to label it, and document it. And we have plans of giving her additional training in terms of visiting the National Archives here in St. Kitts. And we're going to be adopting the software, the catalog software that Mrs. Ulfaharty, who is the director of National Archives, uses, because we want to keep on stream on the same level with the National Archives. But Jaquan has been exposed to all these different things, and she's helping with the process of digitizing it and making it available to the public for research. I just want to touch on what Jaquan said, because as you can see, she's young and she's just sort of fresh out of high school, college. And so when she tells us, and it's great having young people work with us at the department, she's telling us firsthand that she didn't get this kind of exposure, that she's saying that it is not being taught. National culture is not being taught in school. So I think from a lot of the stuff that we shared with her, and we're trying to sort of like stimulate what she can bring to it, because she would know the gaps.
Yes.
And she would know what kind of information, national information that we have in our archives can be used to supplement some of the teaching that's happening with the curriculum.
Right. And I've noticed that she has a lot of notes there. Maybe she can tell us the archiving and documenting of a culture. What do you understand culture to mean?
I understand that it's a way of life, mainly because culture is learned in terms of,
and shared.
yeah, it's learned and shared. Whereas, for example, we will learn how to speak while growing up. At home, our parents will teach us how to cook. So it's basically we are learning about our culture, how we do chicken, what else?
The culinary,
culinary.
the culinary arts.
The culinary arts. Also, folklore and dancing. With the folklore groups, as I said, it is learned. Some parents will think that it will be good for their child to go out and learn masquerade. Basically, that's why it said that it is learned. Dancing, for example, walk up. Based on some of our different bands, music, and other stuff. Let's see.
Why don't you tell them about where they can find some of the documents, if they want to do some research?
Well, if any child or adult or even a tourist wants to know about our country and based on our history, you can go to www.flickr.com/St. Kitts Culture. This site is where you would see a topic called On the Banyan Tree.
Yes.
Where it's separated with different themes such as history, geography, music, and other stuff. You can also come into us. What about the Facebook page? You can check on the Facebook page also.
We post lots of information there. Some of it is about links that you can use for research. We also we encourage the public to share with us any activities that they're having. They have a flyer, they can send it to us and we will post it. But generally speaking, our website at www.culture.gov.kn, you'll be able to find a section that deals with our archives, and it's called Research. If you look at the Research tab, and you go into that tab, you'll see an area for policy, publications, under Banyan Tree Audio, and documents. So I don't think that people realize that these different documents and policies and things like that we have online.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for some kind of cultural policy, something to do with the culture of St. Kitts and Nevis, we try and post it there. Some kind of conventions that the country has signed on to, we post it there. So you can just click on it, you've got the document there, you can read it. Our Copyright Act is there. So we're trying to make it easy for people in a digital age to access this information. Everyone has a phone or 2 or 3, you know, so we're aware, you know, tablets, computers, laptops, things like that. And so education has to deal with this digital age. So we're trying to keep up with the times. So we're always going to have people that like to touch the paper, come into the office and talk to someone. But with the young generation, they're into digital media. So we have scanned a lot of our documents and we make them accessible online. So if someone's doing an SBA,
Yes.
you know, you can go online, and this site in particular, we chose it because we can actually control the kind of copyright for it. Most of the documents come from Department of Culture. However, if we do post something that belongs to somebody else, we have to acknowledge the copyright and make sure that, you know, it's that nothing is stolen and that it's very, you know, it's openly shared for research purposes. So.
And one of the things Jacqueline touched on was the folklore and stuff. Like, we have a lot of digital. We have a lot of videos analogued with, you know, the folklore, masquerade and bull and all of these things that I was able to look at too when I first started working at Culture. And one of the things, if those things disappear, God forbid, that, you know, we don't get to digitize them, we lose a lot of our culture.
Yeah, yes.
Because we have stuff at the culture department that not even the archives have. We have documented video documents that not even the archives have. So we have to be able to digitize it and secure it so that if something happens and somebody wants, say they stop dancing masquerade completely, but 20 years down the line they wanted to understand why did they dance masquerade 20 years ago, this information is there for you to pull and look at and say, oh, this is what they did, this is why they did it, this is how they did it. So it's also a process, what Jacqueline is doing, so that we don't lose our history. As you said, we are becoming a multicultural society, so a lot of other cultures is touching us, you know, so we are changing, but the authenticity has to be captured somewhere, and that is what Culture does, and that's what Jacqueline does.
Right, the archiving and documenting and why it is so important, and you've touched on some. Of course, you have to think in terms of sustainability. Okay, not just today, but passing on our culture from one generation to another, which is really cultural reproduction.
Yes.
Okay,
And
and
can I-
also
can I-
cultural retention as well. Otherwise, what would happen is that we will have cultural erasure. Are those terms familiar to you?
Can I add, the research and documentation unit in St. Kitts Department of Culture is critically important, okay?
And that brings me to a thing. You know, I'm coming to you, Marley.
She's wanting to get at it, eh?
I'm just contributing to the topic.
Right. You know, I
right
understand that you're in charge, basically, of the research and documentation department at the Department of Culture. And you will give us some insight into this department. But I also want you to speak to the SKNCIR. As you mentioned what it is before, the St. Kitts Nevis Creative Industry Registry, and tell us a little bit about this.
Okay.
So
Well-
you have the floor.
Okay. Well, the registry, this is something that the Department of Culture is very excited about, very proud, and we're going to be aggressively promoting and marketing it this year. You're going to see ads. We're going to be out in the field talking to people and going into schools and just letting everybody know about it. What is the SKNCAR? The best and simplest way I can explain it is it's a directory of cultural workers, okay, in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're focusing on inviting cultural workers in all the different sectors of the creative industry. So if you're in performing arts, whether it be music, dance, drama, or if you're in visual arts, whether it be a photographer, videographer, a painter, a fashion designer. If you have a business in the culinary arts, so you deal with food, whether you make local, with a local focused food, drinks, baked goods, as well as professional service providers in the creative sector. That might be somebody that provides stage setup, chairs, trucking, etc. We're inviting, we consider all of those examples of being people as cultural workers. I don't think that people who operate in the creative sector in St. Kitts and Nevis would define themselves as a cultural worker, but Department of Culture is encouraging them to identify with that, because that's what you are. You're doing something in the creative sector, but you are working, you have a career in it. So this registry is a directory of those cultural workers. Once you register, we'll be able to find you. What's happened over the years at Department of Culture, we get phone calls. I need a masquerade. I mean, it is nationally known that the Department of Culture assists the folklore with, managing their business, and if people want to engage them, we assist as best as we can. However, people will call, I need a musician, I need a band, I need a speaker, I need a stage, I need a choreographer. And our knowledge is limited within the staff. It's just who we know, 7 degrees of separation. What happens to the rest of the people in the industry? We have a misconception that everybody knows everybody. Not true. We don't know what everybody does. So this is a way for us to get people into a directory so that we have your basic information. When you log on to the site, which is skncir.gov.can, you're going to see, it's quite visual. So everybody that registers will get a page. And on this page, they'll be able to put up pictures about the service or product they provide, contact information, phone number, email, links to where we can see their talent or skill or product demonstrated. Most people might have a Facebook page, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, where from time to time they will publish some of what they're doing. And so this is all in one spot. So basically we're helping the cultural worker to organize themselves and give a digital profile.
Yes.
So it's very expensive to have a website. Right now it's free to join, so we're encouraging everyone to join. And it really helps to demonstrate your professionalism. Because what we've encountered is sometimes we've encountered ourselves when we're trying to communicate with groups, we need a bio. They don't have a bio, but they might have been practicing their skill for 10 years.
Yes.
Where's the bio? You call the number that they have, you're not sure who you're speaking with. It's not dealt with in a professional manner. And if you're conducting business, there has to be a certain business standard that you expect when trying to order, buy, or book anything. So we're trying to help them to develop that professional brand so that they can, it can be seen by someone that wants to hire them or consume their product. So
do you categorize the registry? Do you categorize the cultural actors into the 4 different categories of the arts?
Yes, when you can actually register online. So there's a when you go to the site, it says join for free. So if you're into computers and digital way, you can log on, you can register right online. If you don't have a computer or you're not computer savvy, you can walk through the door and we will assist you. We have different forms for each of those sectors.
Sure.
And we also want cultural workers to think in that term. Where do you fit into the creative industry? Which sector are you working in? As I said before, there's performing arts, and that is music, drama, or music, drama, or
Dance.
Dance. Thank you. Or dance. So we have defined it as such. So when you click on art forms, you'll fall into one of those categories: performing, visual, literary, or culinary. Okay? Those are the creative categories where you are an artist as a cultural worker. The professional services we look at as providing support services to the industry. So for example, there can be a lawyer that specializes in copyright, trademark, and intellectual property. There are very
Right.
few in the country. I think last time I checked, don't quote me, but I personally could only find maybe 2 or 3 that expressed that this is what they do.
Yes.
So how does somebody in the creative industry get services of a lawyer to deal with this specific area of copyright?
To protect
and it is
their-
very specific. You know, lawyers have disciplines in specific areas, whether it be family, you know, personal or business, etc. But we need somebody that understands the language in the creative landscape.
Well, I think there
and
is
can
an
assist.
intellectual property office.
That's correct. That is run by the
And
government.
It's run by the government,
Yes.
and I think the director of is Miss Jihan
Jihan
Williams.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
So
However, she's representing the government.
yes,
She's and dealing with intellectual property and trademark, in particular. Copyright. You still need to have a lawyer that deals with copyright if you need representation. Jihan cannot. In her current position, she's working for the government, so
Yes.
we can't solicit her services outside of that capacity. So when I talk about lawyers, for example, there's so many lawyers in the country, but we need it to be identified to us which one of the lawyers deal with this specific topic. Because when you're dealing with intellectual property of someone that's created music or created, created an item or a product that's trademark and it's infringed upon, you need representation. So, and it is a different language than to the other practices of law. But not getting sidetracked with that, accountants. You know, we're trying to encourage people, cultural workers, to organize their businesses and to register their business license, etc. So those are some of the professional services, support services that we would like to have in the directory. So again, members or non-members, because you just go on the site, you put in what kind of service you're looking for, and once you're registered, that information comes up. So now you can just directly contact the person and do business with them.
Okay. Now, all that we have said in terms of culture and so on, we have to talk about policy. We spoke about law.
Yes.
Having some document in terms of our national culture. And from my understanding and from what P.S. Knight has said is that there is a revised national cultural policy that is being fashioned.
Correct.
And Mr. Mills, as the rector of the Department of Culture, you must have some part to play in the fashioning of this document.
That is,
And I want to, so can you tell us about, what is happening with respect to the national cultural policy that is in progress at the moment? Why is it important to have this policy and some of the things that it will cover?
thank you, Mr. Williams. I was beginning to think that I won't be really needed here because I think the persons here, they've been doing a tremendous job. And it's really something to sit down and hear them go at it. And I could only hope that the listeners are really enjoying it. There must be organization, there must be structure in anything. And it can't be better put than if you know what you can expect of me and I know what I can expect of you, an understanding. And it goes back to a word we've been using here quite often, document. Because there are times you and I will agree on something, and then tomorrow when we speak about it, there's a little tweet. Oh no, that's not what you said. You said AB. No, I said CD. And once the document is there, then everyone would be aware. Back in 2010, the exercise was started to create a national cultural policy. A draft was produced, and nothing basically happened with that. The draft sat somewhere on
Yes.
somebody's desk. the minister, the deputy prime minister, and the minister of culture, the Honorable Sean Richards, he decided, well, hey, no, he doesn't want that to happen. He wants that document to have life, to have teeth, to have legs. So we were ordered to get it done and come up with a draft. We invited Dr. Nurse last year to come and look at it and see what we had, where we needed to go. Bearing in mind, this document would have been something like 10 years, 6 years, 7 years old since 2010. And he interviewed persons in the cultural landscape, like Marlene was saying, the different entities, because culture is really all about all of us. Culture is not about me, it's not about you. It's about the unborn child. And after interviewing the persons, gathering the ideas, and one of the key things coming out, economic activity. Way back when, we would have started in the cultural landscape as fun as I think Tanisha would have said. But now, as Marcy indicated, culture is big business. Some persons, the dancers, could you imagine dancers for Beyonce and Rihanna and those big names? The amount of money they're making, we'll dream of it. So culture is now a big business, but there must be certain things put in place to allow you to channel your way, to path your way through that. And we're in an environment where, unfortunately, everybody expects everything from the government. It's not, hey, what could I do to contribute? So what the policy is laying out, the ground rules, what you can expect from the government, what the government expects you to do. And out of the policy will come the strategic plan for the Department of Culture. What we do, what we operate. So then the child in kindergarten could decide 20 years I want to be working for the Department of Culture, following the policy, etc. And Marlene mentioned the various areas we have, the culinary arts, the literary, the visual, the performing. And I dare say there's a misunderstanding. A lot of persons believe culture is all about the performing arts. Masquerades, carnival, the folklore. And the performing arts is just a part of it. Not even drama, they may consider a lot about the culture. But what the policy is telling us that, and before it was a 70+ page document, it has been reduced to something like a 22-page document at the moment. And if you look at some of the key objectives, promote national identity through the documentation, which has been coming up quite often, and hence we have the powerful part of the documentation department here. And promotion of cultural values, practices, and mores. Tunisia, I think it was mentioned that we are a multicultural society. Jamaicans, Vincentians, Dominican Republicans, etc. And the Chinese, Indians, they bring in their cultures with them. And of course, they will have to practice their cultures. We're not stopping them. We need to embrace their cultures as well as practice ours as well. Otherwise, ours will be lost.
Sure.
So we need to have that system to pass on, and when we are gone, our children, their children come along and say, oh, okay, this is what it's all about. We must be mindful that culture evolves. Culture also changes. A young lady in the panel
it's
would have
dynamic.
given the definition as changing is from A to B, where a change could be bad. But evolving is really changing to make better. And I like how that was put. And once they are these documents, it tells us clearly, target the cultural creative industries as an area of major economic activities. The masquerades, the bull, yes, they're playing and they're making a little change here and there. Could they make some more? How much do they contribute to GDP? It's your guess as well as mine. Maybe 1%, 2%, 20%, 30%. There isn't anything strategic in place as yet, which is something that we are working on to actually measure that. And we want to set up a system where you're in the primary school, decide, well, hey, I like the masquerade as an example. I want to have masquerade as a business. I'm teaching people to come and dance the masquerade. So Lesroy, who doesn't know the first thing about dance masquerade except it looks good, he comes to my masquerade classes just like he'll go to the dancing classes or filming classes.
Sure.
And he learns masquerade. The tourist who comes off the boat, a half an hour, 20 minutes, you come and you do a few steps, you take your pictures, and then you buy clown suit, a masquerade suit, and you go back home. That is economic activity. Of course, they must be licensed and controlled. Preserve, protect, and promote our national intangible and tangible cultural heritage. Promote and protect.
Yes, what do you mean by tangible and intangible cultural heritage?
The tangible obviously would be what we can see, what we can touch. The intangible, obviously, what we can't.
Give us some examples.
The masquerades, their dance, the folklore is somewhat intangible. You could see it. But you can't, yes, you touch the masquerades physically, but you can't. Or structures, the Brimstone Hill, that is something tangible you could actually touch. You see, you touch. And our music, yes, you hear it, but you can't really hold the music per se. So it's all about that and protecting them.
Our values,
The values,
our beliefs.
etc. And of course, there may be some hidden ones here and there, because there's some 200 plus heritage sites we have in the Federation. They may be of varying importance. So it's up to us now to work with partners to look at them and identify them and really rank them. Establish the links between the cultural policy and the other national policies and legislation to achieve the goals and objectives of the natural cultural policy. The youth policy that was just implemented after how many years? Is culture related to that? Of course it is. The youth are an integral part of our country. They're the greater part of our population. Culture, you mentioned it, the way of life of a people. And therefore there must be that link, there must be that understanding between
Yes.
the national youth policy and the cultural policy.
Sure. Okay, good. Mr. Mills, on that note, we have to go to the phone lines to listen to the people, what they have to say, their questions, their comments. So it's a very important part of this program. So the numbers to call are 465 2555. That is 465 2555. That's the local number. And the overseas number is 1-718 577 2916. The overseas number 1-718 577 2916. We welcome your calls. You can put your earphones on. We're talking about the national cultural policy. Mr. Mills, you were speaking about the importance of having this policy and some of the things that it will cover. Can you elaborate a little bit more on some of the other things? You spoke, of course, about the economic benefits, the economic aspects of it. You spoke about the social aspects of it. Could you tell us some more?
Definitely, thanks a lot. One of the important things about us as a people, there are a lot of things that exist that we don't know about. Research. Conduct research and measurement of the socio-economic contribution of the creative industry registry. And we would have engaged, we would have had discussions with a particular entity to actually conduct a study on the impact of the cultural sector in the country. Money is being circulated because of Carnival. The ladies who want a hairdo to go to the Queen show and then to go to the Caribbean Teen Talent, they want a different hairdo. They are spending money. That's cultural impact. The question is, how much are they spending? It's there, it's in the economy, but it's not really being attributed to culture. So we want to be able to say, this is what the culture is doing, this is how much we are making. The reference Nigel would have mentioned earlier, the folklore, the youth, and that is a key element. You find last year we would have had, last Carnival before last, Sugar Mars 45, we would have had 3 folklore groups trickling down to the primary schools. We had the Bull, we had the Mummies, and we had the Makajumbe.
Sure.
Last year we had a different 3. We had the actors. They were off the scene for quite some time. We brought them back. Nigger Business in Tyrrell Williams Primary School. David and Goliath down at Sadler's Primary School. We were able to have them come back on the scene. And we're working towards another few. And I must say, publicly, this would not have really been possible without the work of the Doctor of Culture, Winston Zach Nisbet, MH. He has done a tremendous job in getting it done, and we in essence have already started the program. And we have, it doesn't, there are a lot of opportunities for the corporate community to come on board and work with us, because obviously the pool for the government is not deep and wide just for culture. So any of the corporate communities, businesses out there, could be individuals. If you want to come and support the program, we don't mind at all. That would always be possible. So the economic activity, I think that's perhaps the biggest thing about it. How can we, the people in the cultural landscape, make money, make more money, become self-sufficient? And forgive me for saying this, but I remember when I was in primary school, after Carnival, I got some licks from my teacher. I think it was grade 2, grade 3. What happened in the school? I was drawing the bull. She came around and she saw me drawing the bull. And obviously I wasn't paying attention to her. And she gave me some licks, justifiably so. When we see children with that sort of talent, skills, we tend to hide them, shun them. I think Marcia would have mentioned, hey, you can't make a living from that. That might have been 20, 30, 40 years ago. There was the point where the persons who weren't so academically inclined, they would have pushed them to public play sports, to and go learn to dance, masquerade. But guess what? A footballer is now getting £700,000 as an example a week to play football. You and I may never get that in 20 years, 30 years.
That is very cheap.
Well,
for
okay.
some of them.
The cricketers, for example, and that they're having fun, they're making money. So when we identify that skills and talent, we just can't cover it up. We need to nurture them, like Marcy mentioned, encourage them. And it's not everybody who will be a prime minister or a lawyer or a doctor. It can, but it doesn't work so. So the thing about it with the policy as well, it will have to take into consideration, let's say, the Ministry of Finance, Trade. Marlene would have mentioned the artists and the registering. Obviously, one of the key things we do, we recommend duty-free. But it's not just an open-hand duty-free, there must be certain conditions. If you're not registered, we won't be able to offer it. But then you're an artist and your business keeps going and you're making more money, I don't know, than the bigger companies in town, in Bastia. Then should it be like that? No, there needs to be systems working with the Ministry of Finance, the Inland Revenue Department. I mentioned earlier the folklorist who is teaching people to dance in masquerade. He's now a self-employed person. So what happened if he comes down with the flu? I don't know what's the latest for his name, whatever the name is. I don't know if he's dropped the puppy, I don't know. And he cannot perform his trade for a week or two. As a self-employed person registered with Social Security, he'll be able to get some medical benefits for that. So I'm not certain we as a people, we are seeing it that way as yet. We're just seeing the performing element, the jump up and dance and Christmas and Carnival. And this is something we want to ensure happens throughout. And the Marcy would have mentioned the masquerades. When we went to Carifesta, the masquerades basically turned the place wild. Even the last day, the closing ceremony, we were getting engagements for the masquerade to perform. And yes, she mentioned...
We have a caller, Mr. Mills. I'll interrupt you. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, sir.
And Mr. Williams and plenty people.
Good afternoon.
sir.
Mr. Mills,
Yes, sir.
cut down on your chatting, man. Out your calling all the time and I can't get in.
Okay, sir.
Anyway.
Well, I was talking because we couldn't get the call, but thank you for calling.
A long time your call since before morning.
Okay.
Anyway, let me go back to the cultural activities. You know what really killing our cultural music and our cultural arts and whatsoever it is? This word carnival. I think there's too much focus on the word carnival. Carnival come out of our cultural folklore. We brought our folklore activities from Africa with us. And all of a sudden, every minute you can hear, well, we're planning for carnival, we're planning for soca this and soca that, and nobody does be talking, planning for calypso, except for Sakwati. You know, we need to focus on our folklore activities. At least we should have practiced with folklore at least the last week in every month. Then you find our folklore status will be improved. Thank God for Doctor of Culture, Mr. Zach Nisbet, who've been teaching people to blow the fife, to learn to handle the fife. Otherwise, everything will have done sink and gone and drown. So let us please focus on our folklore activities. Forget carnival, a wild carnival has its people. They will come in when the time to come in. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you much, caller. But that's a very interesting comment, if I'm permitted, Mr. Williams. Because last year, we would have engaged a particular folklore group about an event. And the leader basically almost broke down in tears. Why? At a big sporting event here, his group was engaged during the break to go around and entertain the spectators. And our own people told him, why y'all don't go and sit down, cool out until Christmas and Carnival? And that really hurt him. And we had to really try to encourage him to be active in what we wanted him for. So it is telling me our people, our own people, are not appreciative of what is ours, our culture,
Yes.
as we ought to be. So what the caller is saying, it is most correct, and we're actually working on a plan where we are taking culture into the community. It so happens that right now, some of the folklore, they're more geographic. The Mokajumbies are, in a sense, out of the Sandy Point area, the actors out of the Molly, sorry, not the Molly, the St. Peter's area, etc. The mummies out of the lodge. So we're trying to spread it all around the island. Because at the end of the day, when we're gone, and Tunisia used the example of masquerade for 20 years, at least these young children, when they develop and go into the high schools, and we continue, they go into the community, we have that continuing cycle. And the programs we want to be bringing in would tie not only just to the folklore, Dan Marcy mentioned about the health benefits of it. So it's all about wellness as well, using folklore, keeping the folklore alive, the networking. We're neighbors, how many of us see each other?
Sure.
Hi neighbor, when we just go into the house, we come from work, go next day. So we want to bring back a lot of socializing again, and we want to use the folklore and the culture as a tool, as a mechanical aid to achieve that, really.
Sure. Now, February is the History and Heritage Month.
Correct.
We're aware of that. Is there anything being done by the Department of Culture for History and Heritage Month? Do you have anything planned?
Actually, the History and Heritage Society, our committee, they have a program, and the month should be launched tonight by the Prime Minister.
Sure, yes.
And there are other activities. We're actually a part of that committee. And so it's not that we, on our own, we are actually running the program. We're working with them. And I must say, I didn't get a chance to say it earlier, the theocracy, there being a theocracy order, they must be complemented, because Sunday the 28th of January would have been 83 years since the Buckley's riot. And they actually have been, over the past few years, having a commemorative service, and that was at Buckley's. And I think it's something tremendous. I think it's something that we're not really serious about. A lot of us may not know the impact of it. So Ras Aya and the other brethren and sisters of the being theocracy order, I really want to big them up and compliment them and congratulate them. And we at the Department of Culture, we have vowed to work a little more closely with them to ensure it is much more successful.
Can I say something, if it's possible?
Sure.
On something that the man said, I hope I don't get heat for it. But I really do feel that the government over the years have dropped the ball in educating or re-educating the public or the people about what culture really is. As a gentleman called in, he said that this word carnival, and carnival comes out of culture, he is correct. we have been a society that always focus on the jump up time, the dance time stuff, and that is around December, and then it's over. We seem to embrace, and we're seeing with a lot of the younger people, everybody else's culture. We embrace the hip hop, even though hip hop really comes out of the Caribbean, migrated to New York City, where a lot of Caribbean people are, and that's where hip hop was built if you look at the history of hip hop. But what is ours, you will hear someone say, me, I can't stand calypso, I like hip hop. Or I can't stand calypso or soca, but I like some other genre of music, I like reggae, dancehall music. But that is a people who speak like that don't understand where they come from.
But why is it the government who has dropped the ball and not us as a society
Because
who have dropped the ball?
Where do children get more of their education from in school? Now,
Is
yes,
this a part of the curriculum?
Right. Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to bring out. What you have to understand is the curriculum is not teaching cultural arts for the most part.
which is what I wanted to say.
And CXC, and this is actually a Caribbean discussion, and actually the CXC committee that put together the curriculum are on the borders of this discussion. Because you have to understand that in the schools, the teachers are not going to teach anything other than the curriculum.
Yeah.
The CXC, which is the curriculum.
Because
And
that is what is being
dictates
tested.
Exactly.
that dictates what the teachers will present to the students and what they'll consume. So what you have to do, or we as a people need to agitate the curriculum, the CXC committee, council, to look at the content of what's being used to in the curriculum as teaching aids. For example, why is it that you're not learning about the local history of any Caribbean islands? There should be room for the teacher to localize it, to use examples that are around. For example, we have lots of heritage sites here. We have sites that are sites where enslaved Africans were housed. We have great houses, we have estates, we have sugar mills,
Over
etc.
200.
in Nevis and in St. Kitts. So why is it that this content is not shared and taught in the context of history? We're learning about other people's history. Why not here? And the result that you're seeing is a comment like the caller, and he's exactly right. It's national culture is not being respected because it's not being taught, and you can't just expect the parents to teach that to their children because we find there's gaps. So then, we have an obligation as educators to fill that gap. So the question is, where is the curriculum going, and why have we not included cultural education? We're talking about employment and the lack of it, and we have this very narrow view of what a career can be. But we have lots of examples of people in the creative industry having creative careers. We have people that are musicians, we have people that are dancers and choreographers and writers and publishers and broadcasters and videographers and photographers. Now, they didn't go to school to learn that. However, they developed an affinity for this natural talent while going to school. However, it's not being developed further. The career path of if someone who can draw, it's not being talked about. Someone that can write, they're not being encouraged to publish a book, to write about current events, to create history, to maybe create books that can be used in school to educate. You understand? So there is that gap.
Sure.
So the question is, how do we fill the gap? We recognize that it's not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, it's in the Caribbean, if we're looking at our region as a whole people. So that's why there's an existence of the Department of Culture. That's what we focus on.
Sure.
But everybody else is focusing on something else. We are trying to remind the public, young people, educators, that we need to hold on to these things. We need to teach them, because you need a foundation. It doesn't really matter if you if you gravitate towards other cultures, but you must always know your foundation. You must always have an understanding of that and be ready to share what that is. So we have to teach it. We have to preserve it. And we're embarking upon a project called Safeguarding of St. Kitts and Nevis Intangible Cultural Heritage, now and for future generations, in collaboration with UNESCO. This project will span over 3 years in order to be sustainable. And it's going to be an initiative where we're going to be going out into the community. We're going to be engaging people in the community to establish sort of community groups. They'll get trained to identify what intangible cultural heritage. And when we're speaking of intangible, Mr. Mills would have mentioned the folklore as an example, because everyone's familiar with that. When you look at the folklore, the intangible thing about them is the practice of what they're doing. So the method that the bull uses, how many characters are they, what do they wear, what kind of music is played with, what is spoken when they're acting out that performance for the bull. If this initiative that we're doing will actually identify all the different folklore groups and also other intangible things that are expressed through food. What are your traditional foods in St. Kitts and Nevis? What are the traditional drinks? People have mentioned to me jawbone breaker. These are things. Pull, right? And so it's going to be a fact-finding mission over the first year. We're going to build capacity through training and educating the public about what is intangible cultural heritage, because we want the people in the community to tell us what's in your community that you identify as intangible cultural heritage. Did a folklore group establish there? Maybe in your village it's the only area where you can get authentic mabi. And the thing that we're going to be, the goal that we're trying to reach from this exercise at the end of maybe year 1, year 2, is that we actually create a national register of intangible cultural heritage. So if it turns out to be 50 things that Kittitians and Nevisians say that this is our intangible cultural heritage, then once it's authenticated, we submit that to UNESCO. And then we try and get some of those items on an international list so it can be protected. And some of the ways that we protect and preserve and safeguard, we have to identify what these things are. Then we have to document them. And then to safeguard, we have to pass on that knowledge. Mm-hmm. With research and documentation, it doesn't mean a thing just gathering documents and we have them in this room here under lock and key. We must share it. You've got to share it with the public. So that's for the most part what we're doing. And when we identify what is being threatened in terms of ICH in the country, then we can initiate plans to save it, like the training, like the education, like going into the schools and training people how to make pull or jawbone breakers, or practice the traditional dance, or make the traditional costumes, because these are careers in the creative industry. And you can make a living doing it if you take it seriously.
And culture needs money in order to do these things. So we need money. Money is needed.
And we are out of time.
To contribute, we need money.
Call us,
yes.
We are out of time, folks. I mean, it seems as though we were just getting geared up here, even more at the end, to speak a lot more, but time is not with us. Is there anything that you want to say? Make it as brief as possible. Perhaps 30 seconds.
Well, of course, there are a lot of partners we'd like to thank for working with us. But UNESCO, we mentioned the cultural policy. UNESCO is, in essence, the key partner, the driving force behind us. Mr. Antonio Maynard, who is the Secretary General here in St. Kitts Nevis. We want to thank him, his office, and the UNESCO in its entirety for working with us in this cultural policy and the intangible cultural program that Marlene would have mentioned.
Okay.
I would like to say something about the top 10 music video countdown. I want to encourage all artists out there, produce a music video and get it to us so you can be nominated. And we have people like Lucas who was nominated on the top 10 music video countdown, still nominated up to this time, so we want everyone, all the artists, get a music video. You have iPhone, do a small video with your iPhone, then do something so that you can promote yourself, because there are a lot of benefits coming along with the top 10 countdown that will benefit you in your pocket, as well as recognition.
And register with the SKNCIR.
And register with SKNCIR.
That's what I was gonna add as my 30 seconds. Is to encourage all cultural workers, please register with the SKNCIR. There are many benefits for you. We're helping you with your branding. We are doing free advertising for you because we are promoting the site. We host you on the site. Also, we plan to build incentives in. This is where we would love to have the support of the private sector, that when we do come knocking on your door and we look to partner with you, that you will oblige and give your support to the development of the creative industry. For example, if we approach a shop that sells supplies, artist supplies, we might want to see what they can offer to a member that is in the visual arts, a little discount if they purchase art supplies from you. These things help because canvas is very expensive. And I also want to reach out to the education community. Please encourage the creative sides of your students. It's not a hobby. The thing with a creative career, it starts as a hobby. But if somebody has a talent in writing, drawing, singing, dancing, playing an instrument, reading, encourage it. And if you don't know where to send them, contact Department of Culture, because we're here to guide the career, to give you ideas of if you do want to be a dancer. We have Marcia. She did it herself. She can give you advice as to where you can get additional training or how you go about doing this. And lastly,
I can speak
30 seconds done.
to the education side. I would put in a plug, please. The Ministry of Education, we need to have theater arts in our schools, a part of the formal curriculum. Right now, only Basse High School, Washington Archibald, and Keyon has just started. One of my past students, Khalifa Pension, has passed the subject successfully and did performing arts at the college and is now teaching that at Keyon. We need the other schools on board so that our culture can thrive. We're talking about education and awareness. Parents educate your children at home, and when they come to school, we follow up on it, and that's how our culture will live.
Okay, well, I want to thank all of you today. I want to thank you, Marcia. I want to thank you, Nigel, Marlene, Tonicia, Jaquan, and of course, Mr. Mills. Thank you for being a part of today's program, and certainly you are welcome to come back. You seem as though there's a lot more that you have to share. I appreciate you being here today. I want to thank all of our listeners, those of you who were so keen and listening to such an important part of our development, that of our culture. And I want to thank the callers. I think we had one caller today he's always very much interested in what is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis. We thank you, and we thank all the callers from week to week for tuning in to this program. I am your host, Les Roy Williams. We will be back next week for another edition of Working for You. Have a good day.
Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.